was in the Peace Corps. I was in Africa, West Africa. You know, the hump.
Yeah.
I was way up close to the Sahara Desert, and I was there for 2 years. That's, you know, the length of a tour. But it was like 120 degrees.
Wow.
I was way out in the middle of nowhere, and I came down with malaria, and I almost died of that.
Wow.
Yeah, my temperature was incredibly high, and I was hallucinating elephants and flamingos flying in the window, and
That's scary.
I was really, really sick for about 3 months, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. So I recovered from that, and I traveled around West Africa too while I was in the Peace Corps. I was a teacher there. That was my first time to teach. When I arrived there, it was like the 7th year of a 7-year drought. And when I said drought, I mean it. Not one drop had fallen from the sky for 7 years.
Wow.
And nothing grows except for millet, and that's what they lived on. So for 7 years, their millet couldn't grow. They didn't have enough water. I was at a school, and my job was to teach them everything. You know, they had a real shortage of teachers. But the main idea was for me to teach them English. I got to know some of them really well. I was attached to a lot of them. My favorite student he was really smart. He was obviously very smart, and he kind of hung around me a lot. It happened maybe 3 times. I walk into my classroom and I go, "Where's Mamadou?" And he wasn't there because he died.
Oh my goodness.
And so I had like 3 kids die in my class, and they were little kids. They were like 10, 12 years old. So it was hard. Yeah, it was hard for me. Village in distress had been spotted, so we would drive there and see what we could do. And we got there, and we picked out this mother and her son that were in the worst shape, and we put him in the Land Rover with us. And the son was, I don't know, he was about this long, and he was just a skeleton with skin on it. Anyway, we got back to this town named Waiguya, where there was a kind of a hospital, if you could call it that. And when we got there, they put the boy in my arms to carry in, and he shuddered and died in my arms. It was horrible.
Oh my God.
But people were dying right and left because there's so much disease.
How did the families work? Like the hierarchy of like the dad or like the mom? How was that?
That was total patriarchy. Women were bought and sold like cattle. Women had no status whatsoever. I kind of got to know my neighbors, and the patriarch his name was Sekou, and he had 4 wives. And then each wife had her own little hut, and he would very carefully visit one hut one night, and the next thing you know, so it was all set up that way. And there was absolutely no jealousy whatsoever. The women very supportive of each other, and they did the work together. And the point was to have as many children as possible. That was their wealth, you know, their children.
Mm-hmm.
3 out of 4 kids died before they were 5.
Wow.
So that's why you need to have
Yeah.
It never happened with Sekou, but if one of the wives
he caught her kissing another man or sleeping with another man. He had the right to take her to the town square and beat her to death. So that'll give you some idea. Women had no rights whatsoever. Did genital mutilation on the girls at the age of 10 or even 12. It's brutal. They would take a Coke bottle shard, because they didn't have scalpels or knives or anything, and do this whole ceremony. And at that age, without any anesthetic or anything, they'd cut off their clitoris.
Wow.
And it was really, it was one of the most extreme countries in the whole world, and maybe still is, I'm not sure. And then they would sew up their vaginal opening, and it stayed sewn up until they were married. And the husband would, again with a shard or maybe a knife. Yeah. I've always been a real open person, but I learned I just had to really open up with them and meet them where they were and accept them as they were. And also taught me that, a lot about how life is so tenuous and some people just don't get to live very well.